November 2nd, 2014, from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. It was the St. Louis Rams at the San Francisco 49ers in this NFC West Division rivalry game. As the St. Louis, they won the toss and they elected to defer, so the Niners would start things off, and they started on their own 20. They would get the ball to midfield and into St. Louis territory, and on first down from the 41 of St. Louis, Kaepernick hit Hyde for a 5-yard pass, but then an unnecessary roughness penalty brought it to the 21 as they were now on the edge of the red zone. They would end up getting into the red zone, but their drive stalled on the 16, and now Phil Dawson would come in to kick a 34-yard field goal, and it was up and it was good, and the 49ers took the lead with the score 3-0. So now St. Louis would take over, but they would go 3 and out on their first possession. They punted the ball to San Francisco. The Niners would end up punting back to the Rams 4 plays later. And so now the Rams took over with about 7.5 minutes left in the first quarter. They had it on their own 25. They would end up moving across midfield and into San Francisco territory and into field goal range. And then they actually got all the way to the 19. But now Greg Zuerlein would end up coming out to kick a 37-yard field goal, and this game was now tied up at 3 apiece. The Niners would now get the ball with about 1:20 left before the end of the quarter. They would bring the quarter to a close, and on 2nd and 6 from the 24, Frank Gore ran for 11 yards to pick up a first down. So after one, this game was tied up at 3 apiece between the Niners and the Rams. So now San Francisco started things off in the second quarter on their own 35, but they couldn't get a first down, so they would punt the ball. And now the Rams would take over, and they started on their own 25. Austin Davis then dropped back to pass, and he was intercepted by Anquan Boldin. And so now the Niners would have the ball on the St. Louis 35 with about 13.5 minutes left in this game. And then on 3rd and 2 from the 27, Colin Kaepernick dropped back to pass, and he hit Anquan Boldin for a 27-yard touchdown. The Niners were now in the lead 10-3 over the Rams. So now the Rams would get the ball with about 12 minutes left before halftime. They started on their own 32. And then after getting to the 43, they would end up with a 2nd and 10 where Austin Davis hit Britt for an 11-yard pass to bring it to the 46. But then on 1st and 20 from the 44, Austin Davis dropped back and was intercepted by Cox, and the Niners would now take over on their own 39 with about 8.5 minutes left in the second quarter. They would end up punting the ball 6 plays later, and so the St. Louis took over, and they would go 3 and out. And so now the Niners had the ball with about 2.5 minutes left before halftime. They had it on their own 41, but then on 2nd and 1 from the 50, Colin Kaepernick was sacked by Robert Quinn, and Quinn forced the fumble. It was recovered by Sims, and now the Rams took over on the San Francisco 36 with just under 2 minutes left in this first half. So now Austin Davis ended up hitting Cunningham. He went for 17 yards and picked up a first down and brought the ball to the San Francisco 19. Then after losing 2 yards, it was 2nd and 12 from the 21. Austin Davis dropped back to pass, and he hit Britt for a 21-yard touchdown, and this game was now tied at 10 apiece. So now the Niners would take over with about a minute left before halftime. They had it on their own 32. They would get into St. Louis territory, and then as the half was coming to a close, Phil Dawson would come out to attempt a 55-yard field goal. It was up, but it was short, and it was no good. And so this game went to halftime with the score tied 10 apiece between the Niners and the Rams. The Rams would start things off in the second half, but after 4 plays on their first possession, they would end up punting the ball. San Francisco then took over on their own 20, but 5 plays later they would punt the ball back to the Rams, who then after 5 plays would punt back to the Niners. So now with a little over 6 minutes left in the third, the Niners took over on their own 24. They brought the ball to the 45, but on 4th and 21 they would end up punting the ball. And so now the Rams would take over and bring the third quarter to a close, as on first down on their own 20, Mason ran for 5 yards. So after 3, it was still tied up at 10 apiece. So to begin things in the fourth quarter, St. Louis had the ball on their own 25, 2nd and 5. And then after a 3-yard run by Mason, it was 3rd and 2. Austin Davis hit Cunningham for a 13-yard pass. That picked up the first down. A few plays later, it was 3rd and 4 from the 47. Davis hit Austin for a 7-yard pass, and that picked up another first down. But that would be it for the first downs, and they would end up punting the ball 4 plays later. So now the Niners would take over, backed up against their own end zone on their own 6-yard line with about 10 minutes left in this game. It's still tied up, but they would go 3 and out. So the Niners would now punt the ball, and the St. Louis Rams would take over on the San Francisco 29. And then on 3rd and 10, they would pick up 8 yards, and that brought it to 4th and 2 on the 21, and Greg Zuerlein would come out to attempt the 39-yard field goal. It was up, and it was good, and the Rams took the lead with the score 13-10. So now the Niners would get the ball back with about 5.5 minutes left in the 4th quarter, but they would go 3 and out as 2 incomplete passes on 2nd and 3rd down brought up 4th down, and now the Rams would get the ball back on their own 39 with about 4 minutes left in the game. They would go 3 and out as the Niners defense came up big to get the offense back the ball, and so San Francisco would now take over with about 3 minutes left in the game. They had it on their own 12. Colin Kaepernick then hit Stevie Johnson for a 25-yard pass. So now it was 1st down on the 37. Kaepernick then threw an incomplete pass to bring up 2nd down, and then Kaepernick hit Boldin for an 8-yard pass to make it 3rd and 2 from the 45, and then Kaepernick threw to Crabtree, was incomplete, but a defensive holding call made it a 1st down on the 50. Then an incomplete pass, but another penalty against the Niners for an illegal formation made it 1st and 15. So now Kaepernick dropped back and he hit Anquan Boldin for a 20-yard pass to make it a 1st down on the St. Louis 35. Kaepernick then hit Stevie Johnson for a 5-yard pass. Now it was 2nd and 5 on the St. Louis 30. After an incomplete pass brought 3rd and 5. Another incomplete pass, but another penalty as it was now pass interference, and now it was 1st and goal on the 5-yard line. So a huge pass interference call there gave the Niners the ball on the 5, and then another penalty against the defense. This is defensive holding, made it 1st and goal on the 2-yard line with just 40 seconds left. Colin Kaepernick then passed it to Crabtree, and they gained 1 yard. It was not sure if he caught the ball or not, but they ruled that he did catch it. So now it was 2nd and goal on the 1-yard line. And so now Colin Kaepernick would throw an incomplete pass to Frank Gore, and so now it was 3rd and goal on the 1-yard line. And so now on 3rd and goal, Colin Kaepernick would take it himself. He couldn't really find much of a hole, and he tried to dive in off the side, and he was stuffed for no gain, and he fumbled the ball, and it ended up being recovered by the Rams. I believe Laurinaitis. It was just a whole huge pileup. They're pulling bodies out of there, and eventually it would be St. Louis's ball, and Austin Davis took a knee, and this game came to a close with the final score: St. Louis 13, San Francisco 10. And in this game, Austin Davis was 13 for 24 with 105 passing yards. He had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. He also rushed for 9 yards off of 2 carries. Colin Kaepernick was 22 for 33 with 237 passing yards and 1 touchdown. He ran for 14 yards off of 5 carries. The leading rusher in the game was Tre Mason with 19 carries for 65 yards. Frank Gore had 14 carries for 49 yards. And the leading receiver in this game was Anquan Boldin with 93 yards off of 6 receptions, one of which was for a touchdown. The leading receiver for the Rams was Cunningham, who had 38 yards off of 3 receptions. He also rushed for 10 yards off of 4 carries. But this game was all about defense. And for the 49ers, Chris Borland had 18 tackles, 3 tackles for losses. But the Niners only had 1 sack, and that 1 sack was Aaron Lynch. The Niners actually had 2 interceptions, as both Antoine Bethea and Parrish Cox, he had an interception too. But the Rams ended up winning this game. They combined for 8 sacks in this game. Robert Quinn had 2 sacks, and then Laurinaitis, Sims, Brockers, Donald, Hayes, and then 1 sack was given to the whole team. They said, yeah, that sack, it was for the whole team. Even you guys on the bench, you all sacked Colin Kaepernick on that one. We'll just give that sack to the team. So the Rams just terrorizing Colin Kaepernick in the backfield and stuffing that run, as this was a defensive battle in the trenches, low-scoring game. in San Francisco, and the St. Louis Rams end up getting the victory on the road, and they now improve to 3-5, and they're 2-2 away from St. Louis. The Niners are now 4-4 on the season, and they're 2-2 at home. So the final score: St. Louis 13, San Francisco 10.